One of the major goals for Visual Studio is to enable developers to build client applications faster than ever before, both by reducing the number of lines of code and by reducing the number of steps you need to perform at design time for common tasks. Throughout this chapter, we'll point out the new wizards and productivity enhancements that you have available in Windows Forms for .NET 3.5. In this scenario, we'll be building the administrative console for loading and managing data in a custom order management and inventory application for Antiques. This data will consist of item and group information, as well as the relevant multimedia assets that help identify our application. Let's begin by launching Visual Studio 2008. Let's create a new project using Visual Basic, Windows Forms. Let's navigate to the directory where we want to save this. Select the folder you wish to save it to. Now let's give our application a name. Because this application is the inventory management system for Antiques, we'll call it Antique Curator. And because this is the interface for working with the administrative functions, let's call it Admin. Later on in this series, we'll be working with this same application from a variety of interfaces, including ASP.NET and WPF. We'll choose Windows Forms Visual Basic as a way of working with the application using the admin features because Visual Basic is quite friendly when it comes to working with Windows Forms applications, as you will soon see. Select OK and go ahead and create the project. Now is a good time to leverage something we learned earlier, setting the environment variables for startup. Select Tools, Options. Under Environment, select Startup. As you remember, because we were frequently creating new projects, we had changed the Startup option to show the New Project dialog box. We'll be working with the Antique Curator admin console for 2 chapters, so let's go ahead and leverage the Startup activity to show the last loaded solution. Select OK to set the setting. The .NET Framework is an object-oriented language. This object-oriented architecture extends into the user interface as well. One of the objects in the system.windows.forms namespace is the form object. The form represents a canvas, or a user interface, upon which you can drag and drop controls that will be drawn on the screen. This form and its relevant controls serve as the user interface, or UI, for the user to interact with. While the .NET Framework 3.5 supports object-oriented inheritance through the code, Visual Studio 2008 supports the idea of visual inheritance, where you can see the actual interface in action through the user interface. We'll be creating an abstract base form that serves as the model, or the parent, for all children forms within our application. What goes on this form? Think of anything you'd want to see as a common denominator on all your forms. Perhaps it would be the master toolbar. Maybe a search control, or a navigation panel. Maybe it's all of the above. Visual Studio supports the ability to reuse Chrome, Chrome being the standard infrastructure of your user interface. How can we leverage this technique? All it takes is a few easy steps. First, we'll create a base or master form. Then we'll add the Chrome, or any of the controls that we wish to reuse. And then lastly, we'll inherit from the base form when we create any future children forms. Let's give it a whirl. First thing we'll do, let's delete the existing form. Right-click on the Form 1 and select Delete. Select OK to delete the object permanently. So our first step was to create a base or master form. So let's right-click on the project, select Add, select Windows Form. Let's give it a name. Because this form is going to serve as an abstract base class for all other forms, we'll call it Base Form. Select Add to add it to your project. As you can see, the title takes the name of the form that you gave it. Let's go ahead and change that to be something a little more easy to understand. Change the text property to reflect Antique Curator, which will appear as the title of the form. Now let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead and change the size of the form to 1020 to 780. Type in 1020, 780. This will maximize our form to be a larger size to take in all the controls that we need. Now let's change the back color. As you remember, the Properties window allows you to sort by category, which is what we're doing now, or by alphabetical order. We know that the back color property is at the top. Let's change this to be a custom color, and we'll change it to be white. By default, any form you create will have a standard icon in red, yellow, and blue. This is the icon that you see when you Alt-Tab between forms. We can change this icon by modifying the icon property. But before we do that, we'll need some icons to work with. Let's go ahead and add some to our project. Right-click on your solution, select Add, New Folder. Type in Icons. And now we'll go ahead and add some images and icons to this folder. Right-click on the folder, say Add Existing Item. Go to your desktop, Project Files, select Chapter 4, and there you'll see the Icons directory. Select that, type in star.star to go ahead and see all the icons that are available. Select them all and select Add. Now you have the bitmap, GIF, and icon files added to your folder. We will use these as resources as we develop the project. Now let's go back to the form, click on the form, and let's go to the icon property. Here we can see the default icon. By clicking the ellipsis, we'll bring up the file dialog browser. Let's go ahead and choose an icon. We'll go ahead and choose A to represent Antique Curator and select OK. As you can see, our icon has now changed. Now we have a customized icon that we can use on all our forms. Let's go ahead and save all our files. Now let's go ahead and change the Windows state of our form. Scroll down to the Windows state property. By default, it will be normal. Let's go ahead and maximize this so that we can take full advantage of the real estate that's available. Let's take a look inside our solution so far. In your Solution Explorer, select the Show All Files button. This will expand all the files that are available besides the basic ones. Underneath the Baseform VB file, you'll see two other files. One of these is called baseform.designer.vb. Double-click on that. At the very top, notice that this base form inherits from the system.windows.forms.form object. The form object is a .NET class that allows you to build a user interface on the desktop. Our base form is a partial class that inherits from that class, meaning anything that a form object has, this form will also inherit. We can then build upon that and customize our object even further. What we'll be doing in this chapter is actually inheriting from our own base form with future forms, just like we do here with the system.windows.forms.form object.